Snowflakes fall slowly from the sky in a small town. A building with a grace sign is shown. There is snow on the roof and bushes. Part of the red door is visible on the table. Besides the book, there are pens, pencils, and a notebook and leather organizers. The reader is engrossed in the content of the book. He or she moves his or her finger along the lines, scrutinizing the text. A girl with brown hair, sitting down, was reading a book with a slight smile. She looked calm and peaceful. The door creaked open, and a foot in a black boot stepped in. There was snow on the sole of the shoe. Someone addressed Jian with a greeting. Jian, holding a book in her hands, looked in surprise at the person who spoke. She is in a bright room, perhaps in her home. A woman greets Sherry as she enters and notices that it is incredibly cold outside. Sherry shakes the snow off her shoulder. The woman asks her about the baby. Jean smiles softly and talks about Seoul, that she should still be in kindergarten. The woman laughs joyfully. A year ago, the heroine left Korea. She settled in England, in a guest house called Grace. Life in this place is filled with constant movement. Guests come and go. The heroine likes her current life. The heroine reflects on the fact that she had a nightmare last night. However, all her worries turned out to be in vain. She stands by the window and looks out into the distance, a slight smile on her face. Suddenly, she realizes that she has forgotten something. Sherry turns to Jian and asks if she is expecting a guest tonight. Jian, surprised, responds to the question. She is informed that a guest is waiting for him in front of Grace. Jian wondered if she had promised to meet anyone. Her companion reassured her, telling her that it was a good thing. The woman thought uneasily as a tall, intimidating, Asian-looking man stood outside. Her gaze was directed somewhere upward, and she looked alarmed. Jean thinks of a tall man with a scary face. His fist is clenched. He seems tense and ready for something. Someone opens the door. There is a creaking sound. The visitor is of Asian origin, which is surprising to the greeter. Jian, while in the room, was startled by something she heard or saw. She could not believe what was happening. Her reaction was full of bewilderment. Jian was in disbelief. She couldn't believe what was happening, closing her eyes in shock. It seemed as if the reality around her had become distorted. The man in the suit, with a slight smirk, asks where the interlocutor found the courage to say such a thing. He is clearly surprised and slightly irritated by the impertinence. His look expresses superiority and displeasure. Then, in the same tone of voice, he orders Jian to go to bed immediately. Jian, being in England, reassures herself that she has nothing to worry about. She sighs and turns away from the man standing by the door. He seems blurry and is in the background. The door creaked open. Someone quietly gasped in surprise. Hajian stood back. Jian looks away thoughtfully. The woman stood startled. A man in a black turtleneck stands behind her with a serious look. He asked Jian if she had fun during those 5 years. Jian pulled back from him. She looks in amazement at the man next to her. She is clearly amazed at what he has done and is trying to understand how he could have done it. He says she should smile. He reminds her of her promise to smile in his presence. He touches Jian's face as if trying to make her smile. The girl looks embarrassed. The woman clenched her fists and walked away. She was no longer a wife, and she had no reason to smile. She was overwhelmed with negative emotions. Everything that had once bound them together was now shattered. The man lifted the woman's chin with a smirk. He questioned her words, noting that it didn't sound like Hajian's words. The woman looked at the man with obvious fear and helplessness. She realized that she could not move. Jian reflects that owning a hostel turned out to be a good idea to pass the time. A girl named Hajian asks in surprise what this is all about. He replies that it wasn't worth the investment. He chides her that she couldn't have guessed it herself. The man with blonde hair informed her that Grace didn't really belong to him. The woman sitting at the table was surprised. The man continued that Grace belongs to another landowner. He sold it last year. The girl was surprised to learn that her landlord was him. She had not expected such a turn of events. The man reminds the girl of the good times they had together. He thinks they have had enough and asks if she agrees. Thirsty. Man says he has nothing to mess with here. He's not going to interfere with what's going on. However, this promise only worked on one condition. It all depended on whether Hajian would listen to the speaker. The man asked sarcastically if the person he was talking to had had a good time in the last 5 years he'd been away. His lips curled into a sneer, and his eyes expressed cold fury. He waited for an answer, gritting his teeth. The heroine reflects on the fact that she has been free of him for 5 whole years. She wonders, does Taijun know about this? At this time, a knock is heard on the door. A girl named Seol ran joyfully into the house. She was dressed in a pink sweater, a red scarf, and a blue skirt. The man thought, this Seol is my child too. Seol called out to her mom. Apparently, she had come home from school or from a walk. Jian turned to Seol. The girl, wrapped in a red scarf, reacted surprised at something. Her cheeks turned pink, and there was a slight embarrassment on her face. She froze as if trying to comprehend what was happening. Her mother asked Seol to go upstairs, as she had a guest. The girl stood in the hallway next to her mother and a tall man in a black coat. Seol obediently agreed and decided to go wash her hands so that they were perfectly clean. After that, she was going to read a book. A little girl in a pink jacket and a red backpack is walking up the stairs. She is wearing white socks and dark shoes. A man is watching her and he thought, "This child." The girl, with an embarrassed sigh, heard the question about her father's whereabouts. She was asked a question about her move to England. He noticed that she had come alone, although she seemed to be planning to start a new life. The girl, hesitating, confirmed the words of her interlocutor. The man in black, with a slight smile, stood in the room. His gaze was thoughtful. He wondered why things were happening the way they were. He was tormented by the question, why? Why on earth? Someone turns to Ha Jiang, asking if he has any conscience. He runs his hand over his clothes. A woman with dark hair is handed a document. Her gaze expresses sadness and uncertainty. She looks upset. She is asked to take the document. She is holding an envelope from the Biogenes Genetic Screening Center. The character is surprised and questions when this happened. He wants to be sure of his partner's infidelity. A woman, holding some document in her hand, turns to the man standing with his back to her. She seems surprised. The man is silent and she doesn't seem to know how to react. The man doesn't react in any way, and the woman seems to be getting nervous. He's learned all her secrets. He was shocked by what he saw. He couldn't believe his eyes. He wondered how someone could do such a thing right in front of him. A man and a woman are standing very close to each other. The woman looks frightened. The man looks at her with a serious, piercing gaze. He realizes that he was right all along. The girl, hearing someone's words, froze in bewilderment. Her gaze expressed confusion and incomprehension. She tried to comprehend what she had heard. A drop of sweat trickled down her cheek. He wondered why Seal's results were the way they were. The genetic analysis results document states that the combined kinship index and probability of relatedness is 0.192%. The conclusion of the document states that the parent-child relationship is not confirmed. A man reproaches a girl for spending time with someone he considers unworthy. He thinks she should have enjoyed that time before he found her. The girl thinks his words are ridiculous and doesn't understand why he says that. The man gently touches her chin. He assures that everything will change from now on. The woman asks, in bewilderment, what the interlocutor's words mean. Her face expresses anxiety and incomprehension. The man lifts her face by her chin. His gesture is full of determination. He declares that from now on, he will not let her escape. Someone reached out and took a piece of paper from the table. The person who took the paper made a quiet sound of surprise. Someone approached Ha Jian with a suggestion to go. A man in a dark coat and turtleneck comes to fetch someone. He holds out his hand, offering his help. The woman named Ha Jian, with a clean and unchanged face, was looking at someone. The look in her eyes remained the same as always. A man with dark hair, dressed in a black turtleneck, looks thoughtfully away. His face is illuminated by the soft light, a slight smile playing on his lips. He thinks back to their first meeting. The protagonist refused his father's offer to study abroad. He decided to stay at the local university. It was there, during his studies, that he met her. It was Hajian. The girl was a freshman when their meeting happened. The hero stands holding a book and looks at her. The story begins on a rainy summer when the narrator is a freshman. He is in some kind of fenced-in area, perhaps a training camp or firing range. During a survival game in the mountains, a girl was caught in a heavy downpour. Because of the weather, she is lost. Looking around, she tries to figure out where she is and where everyone has gone. Suddenly, a heavy downpour began. Someone wearing white sneakers got caught in the rain. The person cried out in surprise. A girl with brown hair and a low ponytail was screaming loudly, her face a look of utter despair. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. She was wearing a dark blue hooded sweatshirt and a white t-shirt. The man's hand reaches for some object in his pocket. The woman looks on in surprise and fright at what is happening. She gasps excitedly. The girl, caught off guard, recognized Daejung. In the rain, he grabbed her and she dropped something. The girl gasps in surprise. She is surprised by his presence and asks herself what he is doing here. Someone forcefully repelled the attack with wooden sticks. The enemy cried out in surprise. An hour later, in the pouring rain, the boy and the girl took shelter in a small cave. They sat side by side, waiting out the weather. The sound of the rain echoed around them. A girl is sitting in the rain with her arms wrapped around herself. She is very cold, shivering and breathing heavily. Apparently, she has been caught in the rain and is now very cold. The heroine is worried about Taejun's well-being. Her gaze is full of anxiety. You can hear her sighing heavily. A girl apologizes to a young man for soiling his clothes. She sits with her arms wrapped around herself and he sits next to her. The girl continues to thank him. She is embarrassed and grateful that he caught her when she almost fell. At night, a girl and a guy were sitting on the beach. The girl looked upset, wrapping her arms around herself. The guy seemed to have made some kind of decision. Their first conversation started very awkwardly. She holds out 2 candies as if offering them to him. He looks a little embarrassed. A girl with blush on her cheeks, with a kind smile, holds out sweets to him. She offers him a treat. Chu Taejun, a famous senior student. His gaze was thoughtful. The girl realized that Daejun's act that day was just a minor favor. Nevertheless, she found herself falling in love with him. They stand across from each other in the evening, against the backdrop of the glowing trees. The girl is in her school uniform and Daejun is in a strict suit. A girl in a school uniform confessed her feelings to her older boyfriend. She looked a little embarrassed but determined. The guy, dressed in a suit, listened to her attentively. The evening city served as a backdrop for the scene. The character is very nervous and doesn't know what to do. He is worried and wonders about further actions. Her hands are nervously intertwined. She rubs her fingers together, trying to cope with the excitement. The man found something very amusing. His lips curved into a slight grin. A snort sound gave away his sarcastic mood. The girl, having heard something, asked in surprise. Her face expressed bewilderment and slight fear. A man with dark hair, dressed in a white shirt and dark jacket, looked at the girl with a serious expression. He was against the background of the blurred lights of what was probably the evening city. The man confessed to the girl that he had no romantic feelings for her. His words sounded cold and distant. Girl in a school uniform is standing, and a man has turned his back on her. He has no sympathy or affection for her. The man confessed his feelings to her, even though he realized it was hopeless. He could no longer hide his emotions. A girl with tears in her eyes and flushed cheeks is thinking about something. She is clearly upset and depressed. It looks like she has just been through a tough conversation. She thought her relationship with him was over. The next day, something completely unexpected happened. The action takes place near the Meyer University Hospital, in a completely unexpected place. Someone noticed their grandmother and called out to her. Judging by the setting, the action takes place at a station. Nursing staff quickly wheel a patient onto a gurney. A girl in a light-colored sweatshirt that reads "Good Times" and a doctor in a green uniform accompany the gurney. Their faces express concern. The girl seems familiar with the patient. She met him again. The heroine is concerned about the sudden deterioration of her grandmother's health, who had previously been feeling fine. She is afraid of losing her. The girl stands back, breathing heavily, apparently having just received bad news. The doors of the operating rooms can be seen in the background. John covered her face with her hands. She is desperate because she is short of money for an operation for someone very important. She sobs softly, realizing the difficulty of the situation. The character is tormented by guilt. She can't believe she thought about money while her grandmother was sick. The girl froze, tears rolling from her eyes. She was shocked by what she had seen or heard. She was overwhelmed with emotion. A man, in a suit, Daejun, stands next to a girl. The girl addresses him. Someone asks a man in a suit in surprise what he is doing here. The man doesn't seem happy about the question, and sarcastically notes the amusingness of the situation. The girl asks in surprise, "What is it?" Her face expresses confusion and slight alarm. She looks as if she has just heard something unexpected. The man noticed the sadness of the girl named Ha Jian. He was amused by it. The girl noticed his gaze and looked at him in surprise. The heroine suddenly remembered the answer he had given her to his confession. That answer was heartless and devoid of any sympathy. She clenches her fist. The heroine asks if he thinks his words are appropriate for the situation. The girl, sighing disappointedly, turns to the man leaving her. She thinks he is a rude man. With bitterness, the girl realizes that she felt sympathy for him. She can't believe she liked someone like him. He asks her why she is upset. The man is just now beginning to feel sympathy for her. He holds her hand tightly, not wanting to let go of Jian. Jian asks, releasing her hand. The man in the suit says, "I need you." The girl is clearly surprised. She doesn't understand what the man is talking about. She replies irritably that she is not in the mood for jokes at the moment. The girl with the long dark hair heard the question about the hospital bill for her grandmother's treatment and was very surprised. She clenched her hand into a fist as if she were going to defend herself or fight back. The man in the suit informed the girl that he wanted a bride. He took her hand gently, looking at her. The slightly surprised girl looked at the man. He thinks she's the right person for the role. He addresses the girl, saying that she has nothing to lose. The girl, raising her eyebrows in surprise, interjects to see if she misheard marriage. She finds the suggestion ridiculous. In the hospital corridor, she is told that there is no time for explanations. The man asked the girl to marry him and have a child with him. He adjusted his tie, waiting for an answer. It was obvious that the proposal took the girl by surprise. She was told that thanks to this, her grandmother would get the treatment she needed without worrying about money. The girl with tears in her eyes sighed heavily. Confused, she wondered, who she really loved. The heroine mentally confesses that she had no choice but to accept his offer. She thinks of her grandmother and her health. As soon as her grandmother is well, the deal will be canceled immediately. A woman is standing next to a man in a wedding dress holding a bouquet. She looks pensive and a little sad. A man in a strict suit stands next to her, his face impassive. Someone admires the beauty of the bride. She looks pensive as she stands in her wedding dress and veil. The guests congratulate her on her wedding. An elderly woman dressed in traditional clothing smiles happily with her hands on her chest. The blurred figures of a man and a woman can be seen in the background. Someone, probably a loved one, is caringly advising the grandmother to get more rest. He is worried about her health. They are holding hands. Their fingers are intertwined, creating a feeling of closeness and trust. A woman, possibly a bride, is thinking about something. Her face expresses a slight sadness or thoughtfulness. The man with his eyes closed smiled slightly. He was in a room that looked like a celebration hall. The woman is told that since she got what she wanted, she shouldn't look so upset. She remains sadly silent, as if considering what she has heard. The heroine, like many others, dreams of one day marrying the man she loves. She imagines a happy family life. The picture shows a bright greenhouse-like room decorated with greenery and flowers, perhaps the place where she imagines her wedding. The heroine in her wedding dress with a sad smile is probably standing at the altar. She never thought it would turn out this way. Flower petals are slowly falling around her. A man in an austere suit looks back at someone with a slight smile. His gaze expresses calmness and confidence. A woman at his side is watching him. A man in an austere suit with a brooch on his lapel was thinking. He was thinking about something, his eyes downward. A woman in a black business suit sits staring down, blushing slightly. She has her arms wrapped around herself, as if trying to keep warm or calm. Her posture is thoughtful and slightly embarrassed. The wedding night has arrived. On the dark floor lay a woman's dainty shoes. They are neatly dropped as if their owner had been in a hurry. A woman with long dark hair sits on the bed with her hand to her chest. Her face is sad and her eyes are closed. She sighs heavily. The man wipes his wet hair with a towel, staring thoughtfully in front of him. Drops of water run down his neck and chest. He will remember this day forever, because it was the first time he hugged him. He rubs the edge of his clothes nervously. His fingers are twitching. He asks the other person if this is the first time he has been in this situation. A woman in a dark robe sits on a bed, thinking about something. A man stands next to her, showing off his muscular back. He has just gotten out of the shower. The woman looks pensive and a little distant. The girl with dark hair heard the request to relax. She gently ran her hand through her hair, tucking a strand behind her ear. Her cheeks turned slightly pink. The man gently put his arm around the girl, looking into her eyes. He assured her that he didn't want to hurt her. The girl, slightly embarrassed, looked at him with slight suspicion. She instinctively grabbed the edge of her clothes. Grandma passed away. Except for Daejong, there is no one left beside the heroine. She sits on the couch in her home clothes and with a cup in her hands, looking thoughtfully away. The room is flooded with sunlight. The woman felt sick. There was a cup of tea in front of her. She felt sick to her stomach. She sighed, putting her hand to her mouth. She wondered why she felt a certain way, since she had eaten almost nothing today. Her face was slightly confused. She seemed to be listening to what she was feeling. The man in the suit approached the woman with an unexpected proposal: get married first and then have a child. He adjusted his tie, waiting for her reaction. The character, startled by what he saw, exclaimed, "No way." He was in a spacious dressing room furnished with black cabinets and shelving. The light-colored door stood out against the dark trim on the walls. A girl is holding a pregnancy test in her hand. The result of the test is 2 clear bars. She took it just in case. A woman stares in amazement in front of her, holding a pregnancy test in her hand. She realizes that she is carrying his child. Suddenly, the narrator recalled the events of the day after the wedding. Chu Da-sik, the chairman of the Gonan group and Daejin's father, gives an order, apparently related to documents. A man looking at a woman with papers in her hands asks what it is. The woman holding the papers looks serious. She advises the man to just do what he is told and not ask unnecessary questions. The heroine has been given 3 years to have a baby. If she fails, she has to leave. Someone holds out a document to her. The girl, receiving the document, froze, her face expressing confusion. She reads the contract and ponders what to do if a girl is born. In the contract, Ha-jian agrees to bear a son to Ju Daejung within 3 years. In the event of a breach of this condition, Ha-jian is fully liable. If a girl is born, she must be eliminated immediately. The marriage will be registered only after the birth of a son. The man seems to have something important in mind. He is certain that nothing should stop Daejong from living his life. His gaze is determined, and he may be hiding a cunning plan. She ponders the fate of the baby's future. If a girl is born, she will be in danger. Even if a boy is born, his future is worrisome. A woman is walking down the hallway. She looks pensive and preoccupied. She continues to reflect on the situation in the family. In this family, disregarding the value of human beings is the norm. Can the child grow up healthy in such an environment? The woman offered to flee. She is worried about her child and wants him to live freely. Her face expresses determination and concern. She is determined to give her child a better life. The phone screen showed the time 15:39 and the date. A new message came from Kang Ji. She admires the recipient's husband, noting his incredible abilities despite his age. A woman reads a message on her phone with bewilderment, pondering the sudden change of the topic of conversation. At that moment, a new notification arrives. She looks at the phone screen, waiting to see what it says. A Peach Media article describes the struggle over inheritance in the Jeonan group. The confrontation between a legitimate heir and an illegitimate son ended predictably. Chu Taijun, the rightful heir of Jeonan group, smirked contentedly. He had easily gained control of the company without meeting any resistance. For 2 years, he lived his life carefully planning his every move to achieve a certain result. His life was timed by the second. A man in a suit stands surrounded by other men in suits. He stands out from them like a leader, because of Chairman Ju Dasik's promiscuous lifestyle. He had many half-brothers and sisters. Only Chu Taijun was the legal heir of the group. Chu Taijun, who was dressed in a business suit, looked pensive. He seemed to be pondering something important. His gaze was serious. A man in a black suit with a serious expression warns his interlocutor not to take anything for granted. He looks directly at him, as if to emphasize the importance of his words. The second man, also in a suit but with a blue shirt, is listening to the interlocutor. His gaze is focused. He looks thoughtful. He confirms that he has understood what has been said. A woman is holding a cell phone. She looks pensive and seems to have just received an important message. Someone has finally done what she has been waiting for. She chuckles quietly. The paper describes him as a devoted husband who loves his wife deeply, but he's really just an obedient partner, nothing more. The woman holds the phone to her chest. She thinks with satisfaction that everything turned out well. Her plan must have worked out well. Everything ended well. Thanks to that, Grandma got the treatment she needed and passed away peacefully. She is sitting on the couch and holding a phone. First love is a feeling fresh and painful at the same time. This very first love was cruel. The girl sits with her, back turned away, immersed in her thoughts. She looks pensive and a little sad. The man looks away thoughtfully. Something had made escape impossible. He was trapped. The girl, sitting on the bed, thought about the meaning of everything that was happening. Her gaze was downward, and she looked depressed. The phone reminded him of the wedding anniversary, which was due tomorrow. For the hero, this event had no significance. The girl sighed tiredly, covering her face with her hand. She seemed to be worried about something. The woman rubs her palms together thoughtfully. She looks focused, as if she is thinking about something important. Your finger presses the call icon on the phone screen. Someone is addressing Kang Jae. The voice is trying to get his attention. The phone call ended at 06:28. The girl is indoors in what appears to be a dressing room. She raises her hand slightly and hesitates, trying to portray a smile. Her gaze is directed somewhere to the side. The girl stood in front of the mirror in her dressing room. She made a fake smile. For herself, she decided that this was the last time. The woman tries to stretch her lips in a smile, lifting the corners of her mouth with her fingers. She is told that she got what she wanted, and now there is no point in looking so gloomy. That same evening, in the room, a leather briefcase stood on the floor, with shoes neatly arranged on a shelf nearby. The woman heard the sound of the front door opening. She flinched slightly and was surprised to think that someone had come home. Apparently, this person's return had been a surprise to her. The girl saw him entering the room. She wondered if he had returned. He confirmed something thoughtfully. The woman looked sadly at the departing man. His cold expression bothered her. She sighed. The man smiled slightly. She noticed that he knew how to smile. Jian forces herself to smile. Her face expresses sadness. She has lowered her gaze. A soft creak is heard. Daejin heard the confession about Jian having another man. He froze, turning his back to her. The news must have come as a surprise to him. Daejin looked away thoughtfully, a slight, barely perceptible smile playing on his face. It was as if he was thinking about something pleasant or amusing. Daejin stopped as he heard the woman's words. His question hung in the air, making her think about her words. She stood against the wall, eyes downcast and looking distressed. It seemed that a serious conversation had taken place between them. John's fist is clenched tightly. She's clearly nervous, her fingers twitching. The girl looks away sadly. She makes a decision to leave, feeling guilty about what happened. He looked away. His gaze was serious and focused. It was as if he were thinking about something important. Jian stands with his back to the man. Daejin makes the decision to leave, feeling guilty about something. He informs the woman about it. The woman does not react to his words, continuing to stand with her back to him. There was silence in the bright room with expensive furniture. There was a decorative cushion on the sofa and a small table next to it. The atmosphere was conducive to a quiet rest. The woman confidently stated that their marriage had not been officially registered. Therefore, there would be no difficulties with the dissolution. She looked determined. Her words sounded firm. Her face was tense. A man in a suit with a slight smile turns to Jian. He asks if it was Jian who suggested postponing the registration. In a cafe, one of the interlocutors is thinking about something. The other person accuses him of taking the easy way out. He thinks that the first person is trying to avoid responsibility. The man in the suit announced that he was leaving the house tomorrow. The woman listens attentively, her face expressing displeasure. She squints at him. The girl looks down sadly. She feels that her interlocutor is taking the situation too lightly. The woman turned to Daejin, stating that she knew the real reason he had married her. Daejin stood in front of her, waiting for an answer. In response, he only briefly inquired about the reason. The man stares intently at the woman he is talking to. His gaze is serious and focused. A girl with long dark hair is emotionally addressing a man. She talks about his father, whom she says he despises. The girl reproaches the man for his desire to do everything on his own. She thinks that he defied someone and tried to prove his worth by succeeding alone. All this, in her opinion, is dictated by a pathetic sense of pride. The man turned to the woman, noting that she had finally gotten what she wanted. He added questioningly that now she probably didn't want to lose it. A woman with a sly expression ponders the implications of her pregnancy. She realizes that if word gets out now that she is having a child with another man, it could lead to serious problems. Her facial expression hints that she already has a plan to hide this information. The man thought about the possible consequences. The man asks mockingly if he is being threatened. He takes a step forward, his shined-booted foot sinking to the floor. The character reflects on the fact that showing pity has led to unpleasant consequences. The woman looks at him fearfully. Taejun looks at Jian. He accuses her of sneaking around and getting pregnant. His tone is full of anger and contempt. The girl asks, "How can you be so sure? What if it's hers?" The man holds the girl by the shoulder. She looks shocked at what she's hearing. The girl asks in surprise what he means. The two are in close contact. They do it so often that they have developed a certain habit. It has become a daily routine, almost a routine. The faces of the two men were in dangerous proximity. They kiss, gently wrapping his arms around Jian's face. This moment seems to be full of feeling and tenderness. He breathes heavily, clutching the fabric of his clothes, muttering about the impossibility of something. He struggles to cope with the situation. His fingers firmly digging into the material, he continues to rub the fabric nervously. The man is clearly agitated and tense. He is still clutching his clothes, trying to pull himself together. You can see by his actions that he is under a lot of stress. The man gently embraces the woman's face and kisses her. A soft moan is heard. There is an intimate atmosphere around them. There was silence after the kiss. They froze in an embrace, immersed in their feelings. A girl with long dark hair was lying in bed. She moaned unhappily, feeling unwell. The girl heard the sound of a door opening. She turned toward the source of the sound. She realizes she can't hesitate. This is his chance. She resolutely reaches for the phone lying screen up. Her fingers touch the surface of the gadget. Kanji texted Jian. He reported that he was in the underground parking lot of his house. Kanji would wait for Jian to come out and asked him to call back. The girl was staring at the phone screen with an uncertain expression. Apparently, she was going somewhere. The girl got dressed and got ready to leave. She, resolutely taking her suitcase, left the house. The decision was made quickly and irrevocably. She left without looking back. Jian is walking down the street. She turns around as if she heard or remembered something. This place has stolen her life. A woman stood in front of him. She was holding some small object, perhaps an envelope or a note. The man held something out to the woman. She looked at him in surprise. The woman asked in bewilderment what it was. She was obviously very surprised. Someone's holding out a plane. Ticket to Korea. The flight is scheduled to depart in a week. Holding the ticket in his hands, he is surprised that there is only one ticket, and it is for him only. The man assured the woman that when she returned to him, everything would be taken care of. He looked at her with a slight smile. A woman looks at the man next to her. He says something to her, mentioning a child. It is about a man with whom the woman has had a close relationship in the past. The man approaches the girl with a smirk, advising her to think hard. The girl looks at him apprehensively. The woman held the ticket anxiously in her hands. The man in black, watching her, was thinking about something. His look was one of disapproval. She finds herself in the hallway of a house. She wonders what is going on. The woman sits at her desk, holding some document in her hand and massaging her temple with a puzzled look. She's trying to remember when Daejun met Seol and took the DNA test. She's also worried about the meaning of the phrase didn't match, the I. Girl called out to her mother. Noticing something, she asked if she was crying. The girl stood holding on to the railing of the stairs. Mom replied that everything was fine and she wasn't crying. The little girl turned to her mother with a sly smile. She wanted to ask her a question. The mother leaned over to her daughter and listened to her readily. The woman affectionately called the girl princess and asked her to ask her question. The girl looked away puzzled, trying to remember the man she had seen earlier. She furrowed her eyebrows and a slight worry appeared on her face. A girl in a pink sweater with a red bow is contemplating whether to tell someone that a man is the girl's father. She is not sure what to do. Remembering something important, the girl opens her eyes wide and reports that she saw this man not long ago in kindergarten. Her words elicited a look of surprise from Jian. She is amazed because someone called her name in Korean. The action takes place on the grounds of the EM preschool. Swings, slides, and other children's attractions can be seen in the playground. The girl named Sol turned around when she heard her name. She was slightly embarrassed, her cheeks turning pink. Seol hesitated, trying to figure out why she was called by her Korean name. The man notices something in Seol's hair. With a slight smile and a hand gesture, he offers his help. The man wants to brush off whatever is tangled in the girl's hair. A girl with dark hair and wearing a pink dress stands with her head slightly bowed. Her gaze is pensive. She catches a familiar scent. It smells like her mother, so he took her hair. But then why didn't the test match? The woman hesitated, propping her chin up with her hand. It turns out that Seol is Taejun's child. The girl, turning to her mother, tries to explain something. She claims that it was very exciting. The mother, affectionately calling the girl her little princess, wonders what it was that fascinated her so much. The girl noticed with delight that a familiar scent was coming from the man. She put her hands together happily, her face shining with happiness. The girl explained that she hid because the stranger's face frightened her. However, when she first saw him, his smell reminded her of someone familiar. Because of this, the girl was not as frightened. The girl is usually very shy. Perhaps she recognized her father? Her eyes filled with tears. She sobbed softly. Someone stated that they had another question. Apparently, the conversation continues. The affectionate question, "What is it, my love?" came in reply. Sol, smiling happily, puts her finger to her lips. She asks if Dad smells like her. A woman looks fondly at a girl named Seol. She asks if Seol wants to know anything about her daddy. The girl, hugging the woman, nods affirmatively. The mother hugs her daughter tightly, and Seol snuggles up to her. The little girl named Sol happily snuggles up to her mother, breathing in her scent. She hugs her mother tightly. At this time, she was thinking about that man Taejun being Seol's father. Jar-Jan wonders, what am I going to do now? The heroine realizes that no matter where she runs, she is still under the control of a certain man. She feels as if she is in his power, as if he holds her in the palm of his hand.